Now it's time for another great episode of Chakotay's Odyssey, featuring the adventures of Janeway.
Episode 22 or 21?
So 21 is called Deadlocked.
Okay.
This one doesn't focus on any particular character. If there is a main character, it would be Janeway, because she's in charge, but it does feature the whole crew. So, how does this start off? They're heading towards the Alpha Quadrant. Okay, they're not
As
going
always.
on, and they discover, oh, we've accidentally entered into Vidian space.
Oh, Vidians, are those the guys that are the organ?
Yeah, those are the organ harvesting,
Again with the
like,
Vidians.
yeah, they're all over the place. The ones that
It's
look
like
terrible.
the third
They got that
Vidian
phage
episode?
plague.
Okay.
So Janeway, okay, does it start out on the bridge? Anyway, yeah, we'll say Janeway is decide. She says she's like, I don't feel like donating any organs today.
Right.
Let's find an alternate route, right?
Right.
So they decide they're gonna go into a plasma gas nebula.
Oh,
Because there's a gas stream, and they're like, we'll just scoot around this and hide in this nebula.
Have they not
What could go
learned
wrong,
anything?
you know? But
Oh
at the
my.
same time that this is happening, because it actually starts out with Ensign Wildman. Okay? She's in the mess hall with Neelix,
Okay.
and she's like,
Oh, she's the pregnant lady.
yeah, she's on the verge of giving birth,
She
okay?
can hardly sit at the table.
Yeah, she can hardly move. So what happens? Neelix, okay, everybody's favorite chef,
Irritates her.
not only does he irritate her, but he's getting her to do a bunch of work for her. He's like, you gotta fix my oven, otherwise we're just gonna be in cold. And also this replicator isn't working very well. And this other thing, he's just getting her to do all this work. Meanwhile, she can barely move around.
Okay.
Okay? And so what happens? She goes into labor.
Ta-da! In
Okay.
the kitchen.
Yeah. So she has to get to sick bay. Okay? So then cut to sick bay. The doctor is there with his ever faithful assistant, Cass.
Okay.
Okay? And anyway, so she's going into labor and they got to deal with this, right?
Yes.
And things don't go so well, let's say,
Oh.
with the birth.
I think they'd have it straight by then. Gosh.
Well, on the bridge, they're all sitting around waiting. They're waiting for hours, and they're not talking. They're all nervous, okay? Because they're all nervous about the birth of this
You could
child on board the ship.
Transport the kid out of the womb.
They do actually. They
Oh.
do as like a last case scenario.
You think that
They
would
have
be
to
the
beam the kid
standard
out.
procedure these days. Anyway,
Anyway, she was in labor for hours.
forget the C-section. Oh my goodness.
So they go through the nebula, and as they're
Yes.
coming out, they realize, oh crap, the ship's busted and things aren't going so well. All the
Yeah.
power's draining,
Maybe
blah
they
blah
should
blah.
have gone in another nebula.
Okay, they get a bunch of power failures. So who's on the job? Balana.
Right.
Okay, she's gonna
She
fix
at
it.
least is the person for that job. That is supposed to be her job.
I guess they decide that they're gonna use a series of proton bursts to fix whatever leak or antimatter reaction is going on, right?
Proton burst in a nebula. I see a problem.
Yeah. But then, before they can do it, they start getting hit with proton bursts. And they don't know where it's coming
Oh,
from.
because it's from them in the past or the future.
So, while this is going on, this is affecting the baby. Okay?
Oh.
And so the labor doesn't go very well. And they have to beam the kid out.
Oh, baby.
Okay? And then the kid has things wrong with it.
Oh.
So, there's complications.
There's a proton bursts.
Yeah, but the ship keeps getting hit with proton bursts and power keeps failing.
Yes.
And then there's hull breaches, and
they're in a nebula.
so what happens is the crew is actually forced to evacuate the bridge, and
Okay.
several other decks as well. They send Harry Kim to go fix a hull rupture, so him and Balana are there. And what happens? You're gonna love this.
Does he get sucked out?
We see the death of Harry Kim.
Oh, there
He
you go.
gets sucked into space.
Like you would.
No more Harry Kim. Because he
didn't-
just wouldn't come out of there. He's like, no, I can get it. And then he gets sucked out.
Didn't use his clamp boots.
Guess not. Anyway, so Harry Kim's gone. Yay!
Ah, but I
Okay.
see there's an issue.
And Kess is on her way to help them because there's an engineer
Right.
that's not doing so good.
She gets sucked out in his face too?
No, she disappears into like some kind of invisible portal.
Okay.
We're like,
I guess
what's
they're
going
like,
on?
We want to give the audience some satisfaction here, so we're going to get rid of these two irritating characters. And does something happen to Neelix?
Well, he gets hit on the head later.
Okay, see? They're giving the audience some satisfaction.
We've already seen the death of Neelix, though, in a previous episode.
This is the second time they could have got rid of Harry Kim for good.
Yeah. And still they're not, okay?
Poor Garrett Wang. It's not his fault, but they brought him so boring. I mean...
Yeah. I've seen a lot of memes online on social media,
it's
and
not
there's
his fault.
and it's like, you never get promoted.
I know.
Okay.
This is his first job, for God's sakes, but he has to do all this like really heavy lifting.
You'd think if he was on that ship, because that show runs for 7 years, you'd think he'd get a promotion, right? Especially with all the dead crew members from the first episode.
Yeah, but he gets to be like firsthand right to all the meetings and everything, even though this is his first real job, because like they wouldn't pay to have enough people on this show, right? They needed more first officers.
So Kes disappears, and then it goes back to sickbay, and it's actually rather a depressing scene.
Oh.
Because the baby dies.
Oh,
the baby
gosh.
doesn't make it. We're like,
Still can't-
okay.
Women's health still neglected, and what is this, the 23rd century?
Isn't it the 24th? I don't know.
I don't know.
So what happens is they keep getting hit with these proton bursts, and the ship keeps getting more and more busted up.
Yes.
Right? So they have to evacuate the bridge. But before they evacuate the bridge, Janeway, she sees a vision of them sitting on the bridge.
Right.
Like all of them are there, like regular bridge crew, and
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
just sitting there calmly. Everything's fine.
Because there's different versions of them, right, in this nebula?
What happens is they went through the nebula and they got split into two.
Oh, okay.
But two Voyagers and two crews that occupy the same space. So at one point you see it. It's like a 3D image, so it's just slightly off, and you see two ships. So that's what's happening apparently.
Okay.
But no one else is aware. And so they have to figure this out, right?
Time and
And
space.
then it cuts to the other Voyager.
Everything's
And they're
fine.
just on the bridge, and everything's fine. They're sending out the proton bursts
Right.
to fix their antimatter leak or whatever. And everything's going good, right?
Right.
It's all good.
They
No
don't
problem.
know that they have, or are they starting to see these
So,
horrible
and then
visions?
this Voyager sees her Janeway evacuating the bridge.
Yes, okay, so they start to see these things.
Yeah, exactly. And then what happens is Kes arrives. So there's two Kesses now.
Right.
And you see two Kesses in the
Two
sick
Kesses.
bay. And you're
Isn't that
like,
fantastic.
oh, great. Really? They
Double
thought
the
that's
Kes.
they thought that's what the audience wanted to see? We need more of Kes. I mean, we've been seeing less and less of her.
Need more characters.
So now
for one thing.
So now it's like the Parent Trap episode.
Yes.
You get two Kesses, and later on you get two Janeways, right?
Right.
So it goes in between both ships. So one ship is all busted up, and the other one is good. So they stop the proton burst because it's destroying the other ship, and so the other ship is all busted up, and they have to run it from engineering.
Right.
Which B'Elanna's pissed off
How
about
do they
that.
merge back to one entity, or that doesn't happen?
So what happens is they end up figuring out how they can communicate with each other.
Right.
And so they communicate with even though they keep losing the comm signal,
She
right?
would have been able to communicate through Cass because she got all those elf powers.
And so her powers are never defined.
I know.
And so it just ends up being like whenever they need a specific power to get them out of some stupid situation they've written themselves into, then they do it and then they wipe it so she doesn't have those powers again for the next episode. But anyway, that's not the point. So in the one sick bay, the doctor is treating all these injured crew members, including Neelix, and then he starts to disappear at one point. His program isn't doing so good. But on the undamaged Voyager, Ensign Wildman, she has her baby and the baby's fine.
Right.
Okay? And also Harry Kim doesn't get sucked out into space in that one.
He uses the magnetic boots properly.
So no, they didn't have to because the ship wasn't, because they activated the proton burst.
Oh.
So in the midst, they're trying to come up with a solution so that they can merge the two ships back together, right? What happens? Vidians are on the way.
Oh, no.
Crap, they're coming. You know what they're gonna do?
I just lost a kidney.
They're gonna start harvesting all the organs that they can, because they don't care. They just, everywhere they go, they're just like, oh, fresh meat, right? Let's just...
Even now, can we not grow an ear in a petri dish? I mean, should they be able to grow these organs?
But these Vidians are real dicks. Like, they have no respect for other people.
Okay.
They just like, oh, we're taking your organs, we're taking your skin. We don't care.
Okay.
Okay, it keeps us alive a little bit longer.
Right.
It's not very, man, the Delta Quadrant's just the Wild West,
It
right?
is the Wild West.
And Voyager is fitting right in. They're just pissing everyone off as they go. So the Vidians are coming, and they're gonna grapple with Voyager. But they don't realize there's two Voyagers occupying the same space.
Yes.
So they come in, and obviously the Vidians overpower them.
Right.
So they grapple with the ship, but they hit the undamaged ship.
Right.
So they grapple with that ship, and then they start boarding it.
Okay.
And they're just taking over everything. Like, these guys are unstoppable. I
didn't think they were that good.
Yeah, and it doesn't really show. Like, there's mostly just show three guys going down the hallways, and they're just shooting people. I'm like, what? And they're shooting back, but they're being overrun. It's not a very good battle sequence.
I didn't think they were that competent because they're all falling apart and everything.
But they have advanced technology.
Okay.
They did establish that.
Make organs. Okay.
So, while they're trying to figure this out, so in the damaged ship, Janeway there, because her hair's messed up, that's how you know she's on the damaged ship. Okay? She's like, okay, I'm going to blow up the ship. Okay? And that way it will reverberate, and so it'll just be one ship.
Right.
And that will also destroy the Vidians.
Okay.
Okay? But now, and Janeway, the other Janeway, goes over there. So then there's two Janeways, and it's a Parent Trap thing. I'm here, you're there. It's a split screen, you know?
Okay.
And they have a conversation at the warp core. And she's like, no, don't blow up your ship. I'm going to go back to my ship. Just give me 15 minutes. We'll come up with an answer, and then we'll do that, right?
Right.
But then the Vidians come in, take over the undamaged ship.
Right.
So she's like, okay, I'm self-destructing the ship.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's the undamaged ship, which is now disabled from the Vidians. Meanwhile, you got the busted up ship that is completely trashed.
Without Harry Kim or...
So what does she do? She's like, okay, Harry, ship's being taken over. Everyone's fighting for their lives. They're taking over decks. Go to sickbay. Get the baby. The doctor's protecting her. Okay? Because everyone else has been knocked unconscious.
And two Kesses?
No. They already sent Kes back to the other ship. Okay? You gotta pay attention here. Okay? So Harry has to rush to sickbay, get the baby, and get to the other ship.
Okay.
Which he does. And then the ship blows up. Okay, Vidians are destroyed, and then the busted up Voyager that can't even move is fine, and they got Harry Kim back, and they got an alive baby for Ensign Sarah Wildman, and then he's having an existential crisis at the end. He's like, this isn't my Voyager, but it is. Until very recently, it split.
Yeah.
So he's actually from the other Voyager that was destroyed. And he's just having an existential crisis.
Well, they didn't really talk about dimensions or anything like that. They just said they were sharing the same space.
Yeah.
But, okay, whatever.
And that's the end of the episode.
Okay.
And that was, it was an interesting sci-fi episode.
Right.
But it leaves you kind of scratching your head at the end of it. You're like, what's going on here?
I think explanation would have been...
And so Harry Kim is now having an existential crisis.
Right.
Because he died, and now... another version of him died, and now he's on the other ship. And anyway, it was all right. Why not? You might want to check that one out. And that was another exciting episode of Chakotay's Odyssey, featuring the adventures of Janeway.